A play fake. Young goes deep middle. He's got Jerry Rice. Touchdown 49ers!
Welcome to another edition of the 49ers Family Podcast, where three generations of 49ers fans break down the game each week and hear from Grandpa Mike as he shares personal experiences since he became a fan in 1949. Okay, I'm feeling a lot better than last week. Grandpa, Dad, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. I also feel 1,000,000% better. Seattle has dominated us for, the last 10 years with Russell Wilson. And I think they won 17 out of 20, and they just seem to always beat us, and even in the playoffs. And it was very nice to not only beat them, but just annihilate them, hold them to 36 yards rushing. So, yeah, I feel good, and it's been a good week.
It's been a good week. Dad, what are your thoughts?
I feel great. It was a good team win. I thought, Trey went down. We'll talk about that. But all in all, it was a great team win, offensively, defensively, and it felt real good to beat the Sea Chickens.
It sure did. The Seagulls, the Gulls, whatever you want to call them. Oh, it felt so good. That really has been a rivalry for the last 10 years. And one that we have seemed to be on the wrong side of. So great to get the win there. But yes, we would not be a 49ers fan podcast if we didn't start, though, with the terrible news of Trey Lance going down. Oh, that was just so hard to see. I want to talk about the implications, but first, our heart goes out to Trey. Hopefully he makes a full recovery and can prove everybody wrong next season, and it can take some mental reps this year. I know they really want to keep him around the facility and around the team, but man, just what are you guys' reactions to that? Obviously it was a good win. We'll talk about that, but just Trey going down, I don't think anybody really expected that. Grandpa, you did warn about this last episode, that they need to be careful with him. But even just on the third time he ran the ball, disaster strikes.
Yeah, but I don't know why, but Shanahan designs the game where, he's going to run 12, 13, 14, 15 times. It's just too much. This is a vicious game. These guys weigh 300 pounds, and oh my goodness, I really feel for Trey. I just love the guy. I've been rooting for him since the day we drafted him. He's really had an uphill battle. I don't know why the media just, picks on him and slaughters him and takes this negative slant. But here we go again. I just feel for the guy. He's just been swimming upstream, and finally Shanahan, gives him the keys to the franchise, and and the media is just all over it. I mean, it's split the fan base, and on and on. So he will make a full recovery. I'm trying to find a positive out of this, and it's difficult, but what I've come up with is there's a number of quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers who sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years, so I'm kind of looking at it that way, that he's just, grooming himself. He's learning the game, holding a clipboard. You really learn the game by taking snaps and being involved in it. But I just feel for the guy, and I wish him well.
Yeah, it was real disappointing to see him go down. It was a very strange play. He wasn't even able to get any kind of stride or burst or anything. He just kind of got tied up in some linemen at the line and then just folded up and laid on. So
it was too bad. It was really too bad. One of my favorite beat reporters, and Grandpa, I know you like him too, is David Lombardi. And he shared a lot since then. And, he said really from the get-go, trading up to number 3, taking Trey Lance at number 3, it's all based on risk. And risk is the name of the game, especially when the quarterback is such an important position. You have to take those risks. And even going into the season, they knew that coming out of the gate, Trey wasn't going to be as good as Jimmy. The goal was that he was going to be as good or better than Jimmy by the end of the season. But in the meantime, they would have to leverage his legs a little bit as part of that learning curve. And, that unfortunately cost him his ankle, which cost him the season. But it's part of that risk. It's part of giving him reps. You got to give him reps, and part of that was allowing him to run and generate offense with his feet. But yeah, really feel for the guy, and I know we were going back in our back and forth in our group text, and Grandpa, you said something that I think there's two sides to. You said, "Wow, John Lynch played that Jimmy card perfectly. Who knew?" And I mean, to a degree, I totally agree. We have a Super Bowl roster, Super Bowl potential. And if Jimmy G is not on this roster, Nate Sudfeld was that backup in waiting, kind of QB2, the contract that we gave him, etc. And I don't think Nate Sudfeld has taken us to the Super Bowl. So in just 2 games, the season is over. So thoughts on that. And then my question for you both is, okay, I agree that they played the Jimmy card perfectly, but did they play the Trey card right? That's the question.
Well, that there probably isn't an answer for that right now. If he turns out to be great and a long-term answer, see, I'm going to answer it this way. In 2005, the 49ers had the number 1 pick in the draft. And it was either going to be Alex Smith or Aaron Rodgers. And Mike Nolan was the head coach, and he took each of them out to lunch. And Mike Nolan was touched by the fact when he took Alex Smith out to lunch is he opened the door for his mother, the car door. And and so he took Alex Smith. Since 2005, we have started 19 different quarterbacks. Green Bay has started 2. Okay, so you take those 19 and the 2 from Green Bay. So Green Bay has been able to draft 17 other guys to fill in at guard or cornerback or something. That's the risk, as you mentioned earlier, and you got to get it right. When you get it wrong, you pay for years.
Yep.
So, we really won't know until his career is, developing, but I think he'll be very good. So right now it looks bleak, but I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree. He's still only 22 years old. This is, they do, with his ankle, not only was it broken, it was a little dislocated. There is some ligament damage. So that makes the recovery a little bit longer. They said he'd probably be okay by the end of the season. Right. But today, Kyle Shanahan said, he's not going to touch the practice field until next year. They're going to take the time. They're going to keep him around the facility, make sure that his rehab goes well. And his potential is still huge. It's just one setback, which makes things interesting for the future. We're not going to talk about that, but we all anticipated, okay, this is Trey's team and he's going to grow and develop. And then Jimmy G is going to back him up just in case and become a free agent next year. Who knows if Jimmy G wins the Super Bowl, I really hope he does.
Oh yeah.
That's going to make things interesting. So we will all see that all play out, I'm sure.
We're blessed, that the Jimmy G thing was really out of John Lynch's control for many months. He was He said goodbye to the team in February, Jimmy did, and he was going to be traded, and he had shoulder surgery. So that, so he wasn't traded, and the 49ers, so Lynch's hands were tied. And then it just worked out. So August 30th comes along, and I'm thinking they're probably going to release him, and Seattle's going to pick him up. And you're going, oh no. And he, renegotiates his deal, and here we are. And I mean, so it really worked out well.
It worked out well. Now the key factor is Jimmy G needs to stay healthy, which he also has a track record of not being healthy for the whole entire season. So I hope that they are careful with him. But Dad, any last thoughts on the whole Trey situation?
On Trey, no, I think Trey was a good pick. He has a strong arm, and he's got strong legs. And I think the 49ers were looking for somebody who could push the ball deep and move the ball with their legs as well. Kind of a Josh Allen-esque, kind of player. I think that's what Shanahan likes. That's why he's running them. In Buffalo, they have the same conversation where their fans do that we're having about Trey. They're always worried about Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen's had a lot more starts. He's played a lot more games. He's kind of ready for the hits. He actually leans into things. Trey, I just think, he's had 4 starts for the 49ers, over the past couple of years. I mean, that's nothing. And in college, he played, I'm not sure, I was trying to figure out how many games he played, but
19
starts. So he's had 23 starts in like the past 4 years, so so game time and ready. And I think it's just development and game readiness is kind of what we got burnt on a little bit, but Shanahan's ready to run him. I mean, that's how I think he wanted to work him, kind of like a Josh Allen. He's a big boy, and he can take it. We just got hurt. It was a little early in the season, and just an awkward possession. The whole thing was just very unusual, the way it developed and the way he went down. So anyhow, I'm happy we got Trey, but I'm even happier we have Jimmy G. So I think it's going to be a real good season for him if he can stay healthy, because as we all know, he's injury prone as well.
One other quick note. Trey is often compared to Josh Allen, and it took Josh Allen 3 years to get to where he is today, and he's having, an MVP year. So this is year 2 for Trey, and others it takes a while. So just have to go with that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the rest of the Seattle game, because as we mentioned, that happened pretty early on in the game, and then from there on, the Niners just dominated. It was really fun to see the defense just go off. Quite the contrast from the Bears game to this game. Last game against the Bears, as we noted, 12 penalties for the Niners. This time, just 1. And that's huge. Grandpa, you talked about this last week, that a lot of that is just kind of sloppiness of a lot of these starters haven't played this year. They don't play in the preseason. So it's getting that kind of stuff out of the way, cleaning that up, and they're professionals. And so they were able to do that in just 1 week, cleaned it up, and they played a stellar game on defense.
Yeah. Technically, the defense shut out Seattle. They scored their touchdown on a blocked field goal. So, defense didn't allow a point. They held them to 36 yards rushing. They forced 3 turnovers. Seattle had 216 yards. And then time of possession, which I also look at. So there's 60 minutes in a game. Seattle had the ball for 21. We had the ball for almost 2/3.
Right.
So it was dominant in every way. And it was fun to beat Seattle.
It was super fun. Some of the stars, really everybody showed out on defense. The defense looked great. Nick Bosa had an unbelievable day. Had 2 sacks, but was just, sacks are really as sexy of a figure as they are. They're not the end all be all. It's
Right.
about pressures. It's about getting the QB out of his comfort zone, and he was doing that all game long. And then our safeties, Tayshaun Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga, they were back there causing disruption and were along with the corners, just really covering Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and making it really hard for Geno Smith to even find them. Great performance all over.
Yeah, for sure. It was now one other thought that I had is we really haven't played anybody yet. We played the Chicago Bears and Seattle.
True.
So we're going to find out now what we're made of. And we've got, Denver coming up Sunday night, and then the Rams, and we really get into it. So, but the Niner defense is awesome.
Right.
They're a top 5 defense and maybe top 2. So that's incredible.
Yeah. Dad, thoughts?
Yeah, I thought defensively, if we're talking about defense, we played a super strong game. Our line with Kinlaw and Bosa and Armstead, Ebicom, those guys all just, constant pressure. I think would we hold them to how many? 216 yards only, 36 yards rushing. That's just shutting them down. It was a great game, 2 sacks. So we did real good. We had some turnovers. That was another big thing. We had no turnovers. We basically recovered 3 turnovers on the other side. So that was huge too. So defense was solid and stout for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then so let's talk about the offense. Jimmy G comes in. Before that, they had run like 12 rushes and 3 passes. And then Jimmy G comes in. The script was flipped. And at halftime, they asked Kyle Shanahan, how much of the playbook are you working with? And he said, I threw out about half the playbook. And which really, says a lot about Trey and what they can do with Trey and the options that he has. But I was loving the offense once Jimmy came in there. He was playing pretty free and just letting the ball rip. It was fun to see.
Yeah. So the Niners had 373 yards offensively. Jeff Wilson ran well. He ran for like 82, 84. And we did have some injuries, and, we'll talk about that later with our running backs, but solid. Our passing yards and rushing yards were almost even, 184 and 189. So that's balance. And then the opponent doesn't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. We had 70 plays offense. We had 45 rushing, 25 passing. And we were 50% yards rushing, 50% passing. That's kind of like just a really well-balanced game. With a run strong offense, with a great line, and our front 5 did very, very good. I just love the balance of the game. If you could break down teams just like that each week, it's huge. It's just well balanced on every front. So
yeah, and as much as we're raving about the defense and they played lights out, the offense, very productive, as we just noted. But I will say the 2 things that we warned the Niners about, or kind of were hesitant about last episode, were converting in the red zone and special teams. And we also were going back and forth in the group text that on those first 2 drives, we got down inside, scoring range. And what do we end up with? 2 field goals, a Robbie Gould field goal for 20 yards and a Robbie Gould field goal for 33 yards. And I was like, oh no, because we know that. And that's the most interesting thing about football, is that only counts for 6 points. If in one play, even a kickoff return could result in 7 points for the other team. And so I was like, we got to do better than that. We have to do better than that.
Yeah.
And then on special teams, they recover that crazy blocked field goal, resulting in a touchdown. I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've seen that happen. In fact, in Seattle, the last time it happened was over 10 years ago that they had recovered a field goal for a touchdown. So yes, we won 27-7, but it really should have been more like 40-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to convert in the red zone. That's totally, I totally agree. I'm not sure what happens. We kind of break down a little bit there. I mean, honestly, I don't know. We'll see. Jimmy G might handle the red zone better. Just a different play call, just different experience. I don't know. Maybe that'll open it up, but we got to convert on those red zone opportunities. That's so true. And special teams, ironically, we got an extremely good special teams coach, but it's hurt us a couple weeks in a row. It's pretty crazy. So I'm sure they'll button that up and tighten that up. So we'll be good to go. But yeah,
I think the offensive line in the red zone, they've really played well. In fact, very well. The three new guys, the center and the two guards that we were concerned about. That was our biggest concern coming into the season. And, I just wonder when we get down inside the 5, if they get, much of a push. And so we do have trouble punching it in, but
we do. I know. I'd like to think that Jimmy is probably going to read the defense a little bit better in the red zone, where everything is a little bit tighter. There's less space. And then another thing that we know that Jimmy learned from the GOAT, Tom Brady, is that QB sneak. Jimmy G, something in his career, I forget what the number is, he's 100% on QB sneaks for a first down. That's a pretty great statistic. I love that. But to your point, Greg, yeah, our offensive line is definitely outperforming what the expectation, yeah, from us, from others, that there was concern with that interior offensive line with the turnover there. But through 2 weeks, and once again, it's just the Bears and the Seahawks, we have to be honest with ourselves. We have the highest rated pass protection and about middle of the pack run blocking. Once again, the run blocking has probably a lot to do with that weather in Chicago, but exceeded expectations nonetheless. I like to see that, especially going into now the rest of the season with Jimmy G. Giving him some time pass protection is huge, because we know when that pocket closes in, he kind of just collapses with it. He can step up a little bit, but he doesn't have that escapability like other quarterbacks.
Yeah. And we need to keep Jimmy G healthy. So the line is imperative. But they played really well. They grade out very highly so far.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, Jimmy G, he's a beautiful human being, let's be honest. I mean, the guy is, he's like Tom Brady and Jimmy G. I mean, but anyhow, but he's got a little bit of this, I want to say pretty boy. I don't know if that's sunshine in him, where he doesn't like a lot of risk. He doesn't like to go deep. He doesn't really like to run the ball. I saw the interview after the game, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, what'd you think when the coach wanted you to sneak it into the end zone?" And he's like, "Well, and they inferred, would you have rather had a different play, a different play call?" And his response was, he's like, "Well, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. The coach made the play, so I had to do it. It was a 1-yard sneak into the end zone. He's gonna."
I think they were talking about the other play, though. The play right before that was an RPO where he kept it and tried to go into the 2 gap.
Yeah.
That was a little risky, and I held my breath there too. It came out later that was the exact minute in which Trey was declared out for the rest of the season, and now we're running our our backup QB between the tackles. I was like, no. Let's not do that. But But yeah, that was a funny part of his press conference for sure. He's like, hey, I just run the plays, man. I don't call them.
Cracks me up. He's a gamer. I mean, I think he's a great manager of a game. And he's going to allow us to go far. You know, we just might hit little limitations, but if he lets loose a little bit and just gets a little edge about him, just like a little edgy, like he you know, he's got something to prove, or just gets that little fight in him a little bit. I think he can do great things.
See, I actually believe the opposite. His stats would honestly show you in 2017, where he came in after 10 games, or I guess in the 10th game.
They were 0-9.
Yeah. He finished the season and there was nothing to play for. They were just playing to win, playing free. And his stats at the end of the year, and if you remember, he won 6 straight, were awesome because he was letting it fly. In the big situations, not that he hasn't delivered, but he is more hesitant. And I wonder, and even we saw in this game against Seattle, he came in and was playing freely. I hope we see more of that this year, that his neck isn't on the line. Yes, it's a contract year for him because he's going to be a free agent after this year. But I hope we see the 2017 Jimmy rather than on even last year's Jimmy G.
I think I think 2017, I think as years went by, he's kind of got more conservative. That's my personal opinion on him. Now, for whatever, this game in particular, I think he played great. And I mean, when it gets to it, he's my player of the game. I mean, off the bench, 154, no interceptions, a touchdown, passer rating of 101. I mean, solid play in a time where we could have just crumbled and, you know, put our tail between our legs.
For sure.
He kept her going. So I'm very thankful for him. I'm very excited for him. So I'm still in Jimmy G's camp.
So think about this. This could be Cinderella. This story, if we go on and win the Super Bowl, with all the things that have taken place, and Jimmy G comes in off the bench and takes his team to a title, I mean, it'll go down in NFL annals as one of the greatest accomplishments ever. So I'm hopeful that happens. But the stage is set for Cinderella.
The stage is set, no doubt. That's for sure.
All right, to close this out, Grandpa, who is your player of the game?
My player of the game is the defense. Pete Carroll loves to run the football. He loves to cram it down your throat. And he's done that for 10 years. And he still wants to do that. And they gained 36 yards. So the defense, I mean, 3 turnovers, couple of sacks, really shut them out. The defense is my player of the game.
That's awesome. My player of the game is really, and I kind of briefed this a little bit, but even our safeties. So Talanoa Hufanga, I really think he's blossoming into a star. But I also have to give some love to Tayshaun Gibson. He is a guy, his own underdog story that really wasn't even supposed to be on the roster, ends up being on the roster, ends up starting, and through 2 games, get this, through 2 games, the top 5 graded safeties in the NFL are Mika Fitzpatrick, number 2, Talanoa Hufanga, 3, Mike Edwards, 4, Jamal Adams, who's now out for the rest of the season, and 5, Tayshaun Gibson. That is awesome. I love to see that. And I hope both of them can hold it down. And, Jimmy Ward, also amazing guy. He'll probably come in and Tayshaun Gibson will probably sit. But depth is not a problem to have. And so I love to see them. I love how disruptive they were. And, they're just flying around. And I love to see Hufanga jump the route and tip it back to Gibson to get the interception. Just really fun to see. I agree. It was quite the defensive performance.
Last year in the NFC Championship game, Matthew Stafford threw a pass in the 4th quarter right to Tart. And he dropped it.
Huge.
Okay. I watch Hufanga and he is just flying all over the place. I mean, he's a special player, and I think we really have found something. So Jimmy Ward got hurt, Hufunga's playing, and Gibson too, but yeah, we've stepped it up.
Yep. All right. Well, as we transition from, I guess, recapping the Seahawks game and now into the Broncos week, the one transitioning thing is injuries. So, Grandpa, you also mentioned last episode that we're losing a starter per game. And so far, this is true because now we're down two more guys. We're down Ty Davis-Price, another running back that goes down, a high ankle sprain, out a few weeks, and also Tyler Croft, a good other kind of depth guy at the tight end position, sprained his MCL and is also going to be out a few weeks. So that hurts. Fortunately, we should get George Kittle back. This is, once again, we're recording this on Wednesday, and George Kittle was a participant in practice today. His signs are showing, pointing to that he will play this weekend against the Broncos. So that's good. But bummer to see another running back go down. Man, like we just need to stay healthy at the running back position. There's a bunch of jokes going around that Kyle Shanahan just takes running backs to the slaughterhouse because he just goes through them so fast. Yeah, we like to run the football, but I really hope Wilson can stay healthy because, yeah, he had a great game. And we need him going forward to have good games, especially against these good teams coming up.
Yeah.
All right. So Seahawks, Sunday Night Football on NBC, 5:15 kick. That's Pacific time. It should be a good game. Right now, San Francisco is at 1.5 point favorite. Over under it's set at 45 points. So things are pointing out to be quite the showdown on Sunday Night Football. It should be a good game. What are you guys' kind of just first thoughts?
Well, one of the first thoughts is we can't get rid of Russell Wilson. So he gets traded, and he's the third guy on our schedule. So fortunately, we'll only play him once every 4 years, but instead of twice a year. But he's really ripped our hearts out. So he scares me. They have really a couple of good wide receivers. They have not played well yet for whatever reason. They lost to Seattle, and they struggled against Houston, and they're just scoring 16 points a game. They've got a running back that gained over 1,000 yards last year, Williams. So yeah, it'll be a tight game. It'll be a 3-pointer, one way or the other. So Denver's tough.
I'm feeling pretty good about the game. Denver's just a little discombobulated, I think, a little bit. They're leading the league in false starts for one. They're leading the league, I think, in delay of game penalties. They got 4 already. They had 2 of the whole last season. Wilson, this last game was sacked three times, had 7 QB hits. Wilson just looks out of sorts. He's throwing the ball away, in many plays. The fans were booing him in Denver. You know what I mean? I just think there's just Wilson's a little unsettled. The team is, even him as a leader, I think. In fact, in Seattle, was criticized for babying in Wilson while he was there. I didn't know that at the time, but Wilson is just a little different character. I have mad respect for his skills. The guy, he keeps every play alive. And if he has the ball in his hand and there's a minute left and they need a drive, I mean, Wilson, he can make it happen. But Denver's a little is really struggling. They had only 219 yards passing. I think just as a team, they were just a little over 300 yards, total yards, but they're kind of struggling. So my first impression is if our defense is our strength, and they struggled in their last game, we're gonna put so much pressure on Wilson. If he had 3 sacks, we're gonna have 5, and we're gonna hit him 10 times, so I feel really good about it.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I was actually surprised to see that the Niners were only a 1-point favorite. I get that it's at it's in Denver, so usually they give about 3 points there. So on a neutral field, the Niners would be favored for around 4. But with the play that they have shown thus far this season, not that that's what I expect for the rest of the season, but they have a lot to figure out. And I think the Niners' strengths play to their weaknesses right now. So unless they surprise me and come out and kill it, I expect the Niners to shut down their offense. Broncos do have a pretty good defense. They got Patrick Surtain back there, a solid cornerback. They got a good interior defensive line. But we still should be able to move the ball with all of our playmakers that we had. Once again, George Kittle is back. I feel pretty confident about this game. The only thing, I guess one more thing is that Jerry Jeudy, which I love Jerry Jeudy. I think he's a great wide receiver. I really wanted the Niners to take him when in that draft, but they didn't. And he's actually questionable for this game. So that's something to watch. And is, that connection, the Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy connection is what all Broncos fans are waiting for, to see that and to see it become a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, or Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford type of a relationship. And it has not been that. So hopefully this is not their breakout game. We'll see. Jerry Jeudy might not even play. But there is some intrigue with this game and with that line. If I am a betting man, I'm definitely going Niners to cover for sure.
So, and one other point,
we also have go ahead.
Just picking up on what you said earlier, Jared, with the penalties. Denver has been penalized 25 times in 2 games. They lead the league in penalties. So I mean, they're just discombobulated, like you said. So
also Patrick Surtain, I guess he's their stud defensive back for the Broncos. He's out on an injury. And I think he would have lined up with either Ayuk or Debo. So they're going to have somebody filling in for him. It's going to they're just, where they're hurting and they're weak, we're strong. So we got to play smart, not turn over the ball, convert in the red zones, those types of things, stay healthy. And it should be a very productive, good game.
Yeah, I did not catch that Patrick Surtain is out. If that's true, that's a blow to their defense for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
So, there is some intrigue here, with the whole Shanahan. Obviously, Mike Shanahan, winningest coach in Denver history. Kyle Shanahan grew up, was the ball boy for the Broncos for a long time. They still have a lot of family in Denver. Even Mike McDaniel actually that's where they met Kyle Shanahan and kind of got involved there. So some fun intrigue, kind of going back with the Shanahans there.
Right, connection.
That's true. Also, just another quick stat too that I found is that Russell Wilson was only 3 for 12 on 3rd down conversions against the Texans. That is uncharacteristic of a Russell Wilson, because he uses his legs as well as pushes the ball. It's almost like he didn't have a preseason with his team, and now he's picking up and he's trying to feel it out, during the regular season. So, but 3 for 12 and 3rd down conversions, that's a tough one.
Well, I like the sound of this, guys.
On paper, we win. Yes.
On paper, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. So, what are your guys' predictions?
My prediction is San Francisco 20, Denver 16.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I think it will be 28-10, San Francisco.
Okay. I'm actually pretty close to you, Dad. I was gonna say 28-14. I think it'll be a multiple touchdown victory. Feeling pretty confident about this one. I mean, I will, eat crow if I have to next week, but I feel pretty good about this one. Russell Wilson scares me because he has a good record against the Niners. He's 17-4, I believe, against the Niners. But he's not in Seattle anymore. He's a little bit more vulnerable here, and I think we will expose him.
We'll be chasing him all over the field. I mean, we got speed, size, Hufanga with his hair flying all over the place, a little Troy Polamalu. I mean, it's exciting to watch. It's like watching a bullfight with the guy waving the whatever, the blanket. It's kind of like you want to see where it's going, what's going to happen. So I think it's just going to get more and more exciting. And the players, you can see the team defensively there's an excitement about them. You know what I mean? It's really exciting. The offense, we just got to put some points on the board. The defense will hold the other team.
Yeah, I like it.
Awesome. Kind of related to the Broncos, I have a piece of trivia, a trivia question for you both. I want to see your reactions, and this is obviously going to be a clue because we're talking Broncos. But which schools have multiple schools, meaning universities? Which schools have multiple Super Bowl winning quarterbacks? There are 5 of them. Let's see if you guys can both guess the 5. And you have, I'll give you 8 guesses, so you can have 3 strikes and you're out.
Okay. Let's see. So we're gonna say Stanford.
Correct. John Elway and
Jim Plunkett.
Jim Plunkett. Okay. 4 more.
Let's see.
And these are Super Bowl?
These are which universities have multiple Super Bowl winning quarterbacks? There are 5.
Okay. So Notre Dame.
Notre Dame has 2, Joe Theismann and Joe Montana.
Okay.
So 3 more.
3 more.
And we got, we don't have BYU in there. Of course, we just got Steve Young. But
ding, ding, ding. BYU has 2, Steve Young and Jim McMahon.
Oh yes, that's right.
Very good. Okay.
Go Bears.
Yeah. The 85 Bears.
85 Bears.
So
2 more.
Let's think about. I'm thinking about Michigan. Tom Brady's won 7. Who else?
No Michigan.
Okay.
Just Tom Brady. Actually, that was one of my guesses as well, and I was wrong.
Where'd the Manning boys go?
The what?
Mannings.
Eli went to Ole Miss, and Peyton was at Tennessee. Neither of them.
Okay, shoot.
Okay.
Give you one more guess.
Okay, I'm gonna say Purdue.
Correct. Purdue is actually tied with Alabama with 3. Purdue had Len Dawson, Bob Greasy, and Drew Brees.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah, who would have thought that? That's awesome.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah, that's right. That's great.
And then the last one, I'll give you one more clip. I'll give you one more try. Last one.
Alabama.
Bart Starr, Joe Namath, and Ken Stabler.
Okay, nice.
Good.
Ken the Snake Stabler. Gotta love that guy. The Raiders.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting piece of trivia, and it reminded me of this game because, of course, we got John Elway, Joe Montana, and Steve Young, and kind of the legends of the Broncos and Niners. So some good times.
Good trivia. I like it.
Yeah, and then kind of related to legends, I do want to mention that the 2023 Hall of Fame nominees came out. There were, 11 former 49ers announced as nominees. There, I think, were over 100 nominees, of course, and then they have kind of like the finalists. But of those, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Takeo Spikes, Ricky Waters, Jeff Garcia, some good guys. And Patrick Willis, of course, hung him up a little early, but what a legend he was. His stats were amazing. So hopefully we can get some more Niners in the Hall of Fame.
Right. Navarro Bowman has a chance, and Patrick Willis has a chance. So, yeah, I always root for him. So Bryant Young made it last year,
Right.
after many years. And I want to see Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be there. It's hard to get in.
Yeah. Yep.
It is hard to get in. It is hard to get in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for this week. As always, we end the episode with a story from Grandpa Mike. I've heard this one before. I love hearing it because it's something that everybody kind of takes for granted and doesn't really know the history or behind. So tell us about the history of the face mask.
Okay, so just a little quick background. Football was first played in 1869 when Princeton played Rutgers, and they didn't wear anything on their heads, okay? And then we fast forward to the 1920s, and they started wearing leather helmets, and that's why I'm wearing this one tonight, okay? So leather helmets, which did nothing. And then, so there was an incident in 1953 that the Niners were involved in, and it was Y.A. Tittle, who was our quarterback, and he was a very, very good quarterback. He's in the Hall of Fame. We lost our mind in 1963 and traded him to the New York Giants for this guard called Lou Corteleone, and it was the worst trade in the history of mankind. But anyway, Y.A. Tittle was our quarterback, and in 1953 we were playing the Detroit Lions, and Y.A. Tittle was on the ground, and one of the Lion defensive linemen kneed him in the cheekbone. Okay, no protection. Kneed him in the cheekbone, broke his cheekbone, he's out for the year. So we then moved to the next year, 1954, and the 49ers, I imagine their management had many discussions like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? You know, they're gonna do this again. He's helpless on the ground and somebody's gonna kick him in the face. So brilliant as they were, they went to a hardware store and bought a drawer handle. Okay, and I'm going to show you a picture in a minute, but they screwed this on his helmet. So if somebody were to kick him or knee him in the face, they're going to really hurt their knee. And Sports Illustrated came out, let's see, where are we here? And here's a picture of Y.A. Tittle with that helmet in 1954. So you see the plastic face guard, but also the drawer handle, which is right here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, how primitive was this? Okay, and this was the beginning of the face mask. So, and then in years, and then I have this just little mini helmet. So in the next couple of years, everybody started wearing this plastic protection in front of their face. And today, you know, there's all kinds of cages. But anyway, that, and Sports Illustrated came out in 1953, and this edition was one of the very first ones. I think it was the third magazine they printed. First one was Eddie Matthews was on the cover, and Y.A. Tittle was on the third one. So anyway, a little bit about the face mask.
That is so cool.
You are the proud owner of an original copy of 1953. Is it 1953?
It's 54.
54, 1954.
This came out in November of 54.
That's awesome.
But I have that magazine.
That's so cool. And you have how many Sports Illustrated covers with San Francisco athletes?
Well, I have 104 that I had framed and on a wall in my previous house. I moved a year ago, and now my sports room is much smaller, so I couldn't accommodate the magazines. I still have them. but it's not only Sports Illustrated, but I have my whole theme for my sports room is San Francisco athletes, you know, in this case on the cover of magazines. Has to be a national magazine, not some local program. But, you know, Time, Sports Illustrated, there used to be many magazines. Today there isn't. It's the dying business, as is the newspaper business. But anyway, I have these things, and they're very dear to me.
Yeah, it's very cool. I remember I was around 10 years old, and I would always get the Sports Illustrated for Kids magazine. And one year, yeah, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Tim Lincecum that was on the cover, and got the magazine, was stoked about it. And Grandpa politely asked a 10, 12-year-old, however old I was, hey, Josh, when you're done reading that magazine, if you could keep it for me. And I sure did. Kept it in good condition. And Grandpa put that up on his wall. So when I would go over to his house, I'd see that one. And I'd always think that one was mine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to collect this stuff, and they all have memories of their own and little stories. And so whenever I walk into my sports room, I just get happy because there are Super Bowls and World Series and NBA championships, and it's just heaven.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, that'll do it for another episode of 49ers Family. Thank you for being part of our family. Thank you for listening. Once again, if you have any questions, comments, hot takes, please email them to 49ersfamilypodcast@gmail.com. That's 49ersfamilypodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, let's go beat some Broncos. Go Niners.
Go Niners. Woo!